It's the Mac and Rocker podcast.
Yeah, it is.
I'm one of your humble hosts, Scotty Rocker, joined by
Mac.
Big Mac. That's cool that I was like, I hope you don't mind a nickname. I'll say Mac. I'll put Mac up there, and if he doesn't like it, he can tell me. And you said that was actually your nickname.
No, I used to get that all the time. Growing up playing sports and everything.
Is that because your last name's McKenzie?
Yeah.
Because that's what I went for.
Yeah.
I was even going to spell it capital M, lowercase c.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that might not work. But, yeah, Big Mac. So that's why. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's a good nickname.
Yeah. No, I got that a lot through sports, playing football and stuff, and
awesome.
basketball. And, it's just kind of it's always been a name, so.
So it never bothered you?
Nah.
Some people
I've been called worse.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So a lot I love nicknames. And as I'm sure as you can tell at work, you probably hear a lot of nicknames come flying.
Yeah.
But we all see the group that's worked together in the past, man, like in 275, I mean, we had nicknames for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
It was cool as heck, man.
Yeah.
And we knew who we were talking about, but then when we'd be talking to someone who, hey, I'm looking for so and so. Oh yeah, Cheeseburger, he's over there, and they're like, who, what, And then I'm pretty sure that Sean actually thought my name was Rocker. Because he was going down a list about something. He goes, Scott Hardy. He goes, who the hell's Scott Hardy? And Toby,
I would have loved to see that.
They're like, oh, that's Rocker.
Yeah.
He goes, Rocker's not your last name, He thought it was my last name. Isn't that funny?
That's great.
No, I got that nickname in the year 2000.
Really?
Yeah. Right before, May of 2000. A friend of mine I worked with, 107.3 FM, right? So we would get that station at work, and just all kinds of songs come on, and I say, oh, so and so, this album this year.
Yeah.
I just rattle it off, okay, and then this my group leader, he's like, man, he goes, you know everything about rock and roll, don't you? I said, well, yeah, I've been involved with it since 1986.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, you're the rocker.
Yeah, there you go.
Scotty Rocker. And I always say I got christened.
Yeah.
Yeah, May of 2000. Yeah. So 24 years I've had that nickname.
No, it's a perfect nickname.
And now it's like a brand.
Yeah.
Now it's becoming a brand, which is kind of cool. But, yeah. And then I had a family nickname, too, which was Cruncher.
Mm.
And there's people, there's maybe Jonesy, Clevy, Rob, and Fulpy. 4 people that outside of my family that call me Cruncher.
Yeah.
Very dear friends of mine. Yeah, they, because we all grew up together, and that's what they heard.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so the family still calls me that, which is fine. And then, of course, you ever get people when, like, I've been Scotty. My name's Scott, right?
Yeah.
But they just call me Scotty, which is fine.
Yeah.
It's never bothered me, so much so that that's my brand name. That's my business name is Scotty, right?
Yeah.
Scotty Rocker. So, but some people get so miffed at nicknames or if John's, you might call someone Johnny.
Oh yeah. Throw a little, an E on it.
Yeah, and they I don't know why they get so butthurt, but they do sometimes. So I guess, but hey, that's their name, so I suppose I need to respect that, which I always do. But I hate it when they say, "Oh no, don't call me Johnny, or don't call me Scotty, or don't call me Kenny," whatever.
That's always the weird part when somebody calls me Joshua at work. I mean, because that's my full name, and it's all my emails and all that stuff and everything. So at first I'm kind of like, "Oh, they're talking to me," because nobody really says it.
When you first introduced yourself on the podcast, you're like, I'm Joshua McKenzie, or Josh. Dude, like we were just talking before we started the podcast, how far, man, we forgot this. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, I was looking over. I'm like, we forgot the cowbell.
Little cowbell.
We were talking about how much you've progressed already.
Yeah.
So we're going on, this is the 16th podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've come a long way. So.
Yeah, no, it's being in front of the camera is a lot different, and it just takes some
took
time.
Me years.
Yeah.
I've been doing the Rock and Roll Rundown on Thursdays for 3 years, over 3 years now, and I'm quite used to it now. But
Yeah.
a year ago, I was still like, I'm fat or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Who it?
Well, the crazy part is, I was a group lead at one time, and every day for 3 years, I got to stand in front of 20 to 50 people,
sure.
and kind of do a 2-minute, 3-minute kickoff, and so in-person public speaking was different. I don't know why, and then it's like you put a camera on, it's like you freeze up. I don't know, but
I hear you. You're getting used to it though.
Yeah.
So much so that your live streams on is it Dockside Digital?
Dockside, yeah.
At your Dockside Digital streaming, man, you got her down.
Yeah. I think it's I don't know, just try to have fun with it, and
fun.
Just
that's all it is. We're not supermodels.
No.
We're not maybe even A-list actor hot, but
I might make a D-list.
I hear you there. I wish I was an A-list. The new background looks great. Good job on that.
Spooky season.
Spooky. Kind of reminds me of Walking Dead there.
Yeah.
I watched The Walking Dead on Halloween, by the way, when I first watched it. So my friends were all, back in 2010, adjust my light there. Back in 2010, I hadn't watched the show. I'm like, I'm not big on the zombie stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then some of my friends were like, their friends at work, they're like, oh, dude, you got to watch it. This is when it was like 2 seasons already. I was like, all right, let me borrow the DVD. What's that? I don't even have a DVD player anymore. Let me borrow the DVDs. Okay, sure. So I'm watching it, and was it Halloween? No, it was in October, though. And my curtains are all pulled, and Amber and the kids were gone.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, cool, I'm going to get caught up on this. And oh, my God, that first episode, man, I was like, whoa, this is wild, man.
Yeah.
It was cool, and it freaked me out when I heard, because we lived in town at that time, right in town, and I heard this big bang or crash or something. And I was like, oh my God. And and I'm peeking through the curtains. That's a good show right there when they make you think like that.
Yeah, no, that's what I like when you're kind of, what's going on?
Yeah, what is that? The X-Files did that.
Ugh.
Sometimes I had to watch the X-Files with a gun.
Weather's getting to me. Oh, yeah, X-Files. That one got me as a kid.
Gee, that one got me as an adult. They had the Robert Faster, I believe he was a demon, I think, on the show, He was actually in 2 episodes. 2 episodes, years apart.
Yeah.
And boy, he vamped out. He showed like his true form came out, and it was late at night, and I was like, yee. Went and got my gun, and I was like,
no, thank you. Yeah.
That was dumb, but I did. I was like, you ain't getting me, not without a fight. That was a good one.
Not going down.
That was the X-Files for you.
Yeah.
What a show that was.
I got to admit, the shows that have really gotten me over the last few years that have been fun, like Haunting at Bly Manor, House on Haunted Hill, or something like that, and Midnight Mass, and those have been really good shows. They're like one and done seasons.
Yeah.
But they're always very interesting, and the stories and the twists and stuff, they're always pretty good. Plus, there's always a little something in the show to kind of, Easter eggs and stuff to kind of figure out, and that's fun. I like that.
Well, that's a good segue going into, we kind of want to talk about paranormal and stuff. Now, before we do, we got some shout-outs.
Yeah, we do.
So I want to give a shout-out to our 10th subscriber, Mr. Curly Moose himself, Greg Emily. So thanks for subscribing, Greg.
Thank you. Yeah.
We really appreciate it. And
yeah, we do.
I wanna give a shout out to Bill Torzon. Miss Bill already. So he moved out of the state. So Bill, thanks for watching and supporting the podcast. We appreciate you, bro. And I
miss you. Yeah. Definitely.
No joke. It's not the same at the lunch table or breakfast.
No, it's
He was
you're
part
missed.
of
That's for sure.
Yeah, he sent us something to check out. He sent us the videos about the flooding out there in the mountains. And stuff. Yeah, that was pretty.
That's man.
We better save that for a conspiracy show again.
Yeah,
but
those poor folks.
Oh man, over 200. The death toll is over 200. That's unacceptable.
It's and it's so little coverage, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
what is
in
up
honesty,
with that?
If it would have been the coast, there would have been.
And then they're saying that they won't let private citizens help like this. So what I've heard, and this is on YouTube, the guy's got his own helicopter and he's flying people out and taking people's supplies.
Yeah.
And the police told him he can't do that, and they would arrest him. Now, this is what I saw on YouTube. Now, not that we believe everything we see on anything anymore, but it was a news broadcast that was broadcasting it.
Is it safety reasons that they're claiming, or
something's going on with FEMA? FEMA's making a big stink. So, and government can't do anything, right?
I mean, they're so bogged down and
it's
crap.
Corrupt, and they just can't do anything right. Big government is, just is pathetic. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, we don't get political.
Yeah.
Okay, well, hopefully, if you're watching this, donate some supplies and whatever you can. Yeah. I know there's some groups from work that were going down.
We had some neighbors in the neighborhood. Okay. They loaded up a trailer and took some stuff down and everything. Good. So
I'll talk to Bees and see what his churches are doing.
Yeah,
that's usually how I donate things like that, is through his churches. Okay, well, good luck out there, out east.
Yeah,
great. The hurricane weather sucks, right? Any bad weather sucks.
I think a lot of times we get wrapped up into thinking it only hits the coast and a few spots within a coastal region, and we don't really think about the effects it can have inland. Excuse me, I'm still fighting this stuff.
It's not that candle, is it, Josh?
No, it's just the weather.
I can edit this stuff out too.
Yeah, it's all good. But yeah, I think they can really raise some havoc over there in the inland stuff, and
it sucks.
Yeah.
The weather sucks sometimes, right? What it can do to us. Well, so we're in the spooky season. It's October.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, my favorite month.
I could feel it.
Yeah,
you can. The weather's changing.
I'm sure I'll come down with something before too long. Do you ever had any encounter? We talked about UFO encounters a couple weeks ago. Do you ever have any ghostly poltergeist encounters?
Nothing really stands out, but I've had a few things that make you just kind of raise an eyebrow.
Yeah.
The first house my wife and I lived in, it was an older home. I think 65, 70 years old.
Wow.
It was an older home, but definitely some history. So, I can't really say for sure, but we just had, things that happened in the house that you're just like, what was that? And then you get those creaking sounds that you're like, is it just the house or is it, something else? One of the biggest stories, the most like, what just happened? We bought my son the Buzz and Woody toys from Toy Story. He loved Toy Story, and they brought back like the replica ones. They were big. They looked just like what was from the movies, and so we bought him two of them, or one of each, and of course Woody is the pull string. Yeah. So you want him to talk, you got a pull string. Yeah. So we put him to bed, and we're just sitting on the couch. We're watching some TV. We've got one of the dogs with us, and the dog kind of starts acting a little funny. He's kind of on edge, and he won't go. He'll go up to where the hallway was, but he wouldn't really go to the hallway. And which was a common theme with any animal we ever had in the house. We watched a cat for a friend, and the cat would not go into the hallway for whatever reason. It just stayed out of it, and which was nice because we always knew where the cat was. Excuse me. But so the dog kind of he's acting a little weird, and then we hear Woody, say one of his catchphrases,
which I'm sure would just absolutely make you freak out.
Oh yeah, and first we thought, maybe Bennett's awake,
Oh right.
So we're like, oh, he's just messing around. Then we hear it again, but we never heard any footsteps. Nothing from him, like that is noise from his bed, nothing. So she's like, you need to go check that out. And I'm like, why do I have to go check it out?
Oh, man.
So I'm like, okay.
Oops.
So I was like, all right, let's go together. And she's like, all right, you go first. I'm like, fine.
Seriously.
So I kick on the hallway and the light, and it gave enough light to kind of see into the room without, turn his light on to wake him up. And we hear it again. And at this point, I'm like, no. Because he's not moving, like he's sleeping.
So he's sleeping.
I know there's nothing else in the house that I'm aware of. And I walk in there a little more, and it goes off again. And I'm just like, I look at my wife, and I'm like, there's this thing. If it's got batteries, they're coming out.
Right, right. Been there, done that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I go around to where his toys, are sitting, and sure enough, this thing's just sitting by itself. Like nothing. There's nothing sitting on it.
Was the string pulled?
I couldn't tell. It was just so.
Okay. Yeah.
You know how they in the movie they just kind of like ragdoll and fall down.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how he looked. He was just laying there. So I'm just like, I had. It didn't have batteries. It just pull string. That was it. So put that thing. We just set it on the coffee table because it was like if something's gonna happen, it's gonna happen right in front of us, and I want to see it. I want to see it happen. So yeah, have no idea what was making it happen. Never did it again.
No, just that time.
Yeah.
Wow. Whoops. Check my. That. So that I'm sure that happens a lot. We see it in the movies a lot, right? Where the toys get, even in the UFO lore, you see the toys get activated. Yeah, okay. So it never did it again.
Never did it again. And I would have thought, like, if it would have been Buzz, you got all the buttons and stuff, like that would have been, I'd be like, all right, whatever.
Malfunction.
Button got
whatever,
hit, yeah.
But
it's like, no, you had to choose the one that was the creepiest.
So my method of thinking is I try to debunk the normal before I go down the conclusion that this is paranormal, right? So I would say, okay, was that cord somehow pulled and then just started retracting on its own?
Yeah.
How those old things, Josh, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. If you pulled it too hard, it wouldn't
catch
retract, and it just kind of dangle. Yeah. Maybe he pulled on that cord and it was sitting and you couldn't see it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's still creepy as
all get out.
for
sure.
Especially if you're in a different room and you heard it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the hallway. So we had like the living room was right there. Then he had like a little hallway, and then his room was just on the other side of the wall. So yeah, it was one of those where it was just kind of like, what in the world? So, but again, I don't know. I mean, he was 4, I think, at the time, something like that. He could have played too hard with it. Something could have happened, but just you're really thinking there's somebody else in the room.
Yeah.
And who's in my kid's room?
Yeah.
And that's your first thought. And
right.
then when it does it again and there's nothing,
is my kid awake?
Oh my
playing,
God. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that definitely would have been me.
But I mean, it was, and that wasn't the only like weird thing that ever happened. Like it was. There was one time where we were just watching TV again, and he's in bed, and we kind of heard him whimpering, crying a little bit. We're like, what in the world's going on? Is he okay? Probably had a bad dream. Go in there to check on him. Again, turn the hallway light on so it gets enough room, enough light so we can see.
That was the routine, huh?
Yeah, because you didn't want to, kick the light on and he's awake, and then you're like, oh, crap, go back to sleep. But you kick that on, and you kind of hear him, and he's just sitting there or laying there, and then out of nowhere he makes like this like loud like screeching yelling sound as he just like raises up like the Undertaker.
Yeah.
And I look at her and I'm like, I don't. And he did it for, it was a loud screeching for a good 20 seconds.
Ouch.
And I'm just like, oh my God, is he hurt? What's going on? Like, first time parent, he's 4. And you just don't know what to do at the time. And so,
Sorry,
I try to chalk that up to just
dreaming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because it was just, I don't know. It's
dreaming. The brain doesn't know the difference between when you're awake and sleep, right?
Yeah.
So he's having a, maybe a bad dream or a nightmare, and it just, the muscles are reacting.
Yeah.
To what the brain's saying, hey, so
it's just one of those like
cool.
where you're like,
yeah, but that'll freak you out.
Call someone,
yeah,
because it was we had the Woody toy incident, and then that happened, and so it's like you start kind of putting things together, and you're like, oh my God, is something going on? But
that's how I was haunted, was in my dreams.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, they were horrible nightmares when I was 4 and 5 in the haunted house I lived in.
Yeah,
I hated that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he maybe he was being pestered there in his dreams.
And it's it's possible. I mean, it like I said, we always had pets that never really wanted to go in the hallway and different stuff. And,
now, where was this house at?
It was in Warsaw. It was down not far from the high school.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I wonder. Sorry, Josh, I'm not bored. I didn't.
No,
last
I don't.
night.
I'm.
So everybody's like, man, these guys are like, man, he really hates his stories. Nope. I wonder. I've always wondered, did the people who lived in there after and since, have they ever had any issues?
Yeah.
I've always wondered that.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, because the haunted house I lived in, which my brother and I did a 2 podcasts on that place. It's just down the hill a little ways from my brother's house now, because it's there at Black's Landing.
Yeah.
And, it's been remodeled, and I've probably 2 or 3 different owners since then.
Yeah.
And I've always wondered, I'm like, I wonder if they ever, but Keith, my brother talks to him, neighborly like.
Oh, yeah.
So he's never asked him or brought it up.
Yeah.
But, I'm like, do they bring it up? Would they, that'd be kind of a weird topic, I guess, if you didn't know somebody real well. But I kind of want to go up and say, hey, anything ever happen in this house? Or was it just my overactive imagination, which, believe me, I had, right?
I've still got one.
Oh, yeah, I do too. But, yeah. So I've always wondered, what did other people experience in that house,
Yeah.
That'd be interesting to know, wouldn't it? Maybe nothing at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean...
But that's pretty freaky. You get the Woody thing.
Yeah.
And then did he stand up in the bed or just sit up in the bed and scream?
He just laid there. He was laying there flat, and he just raised straight up.
Raised straight up.
Just raised straight
up. Like Nosferatu.
Yeah.
And screamed at the same time.
Yeah. So it was like, oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
My cousin, one of my cousins, shout out to Matt Scales. He was a big sleep talker when he was younger, and we'd all be sleeping in the living room together when I'd stay the night or whatnot. Yeah. Boy, he'd yell and shout sometimes, scare the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Those houses weren't haunted though, not those houses. But you'd hear him, and it's like, ugh.
What?
Go, I'm trying to go to bed here. Yeah.
It's like, you gotta stop talking.
Yeah, I've done quite a bit of sleep talking, sleepwalking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always wondered, because there's been times you ever waking up and you're like, why am I so sore? Did I sleep wrong? What's going on?
Yeah.
It's like, did I sleep exercise? What's
Well, you might have, because like the brain doesn't know the difference. See, so your muscles are trying to do what you're doing in your dreams.
Yeah.
I could never figure out, why can't I move my arms, or if I'm in flight or fight, why can't I punch?
Yeah.
Why are my punches so slow? Is it because I'm physically trying to punch and I sleep on my stomach and my arms are... Yeah. So when you lucid dream, you realize that, and then you don't rely on the physical muscles in the brain. You create the... It's wild.
The brain's fascinating.
Dude, it's awesome. Dreams are awesome. That's why...
Oh, yeah.
That episode on Joe Rogan not too long ago with Dr. Robert Epstein. Boy, check that one out. Yeah. I'm telling you, he got me hooked. Like I said, the Google stuff's okay. Yeah, we're all aware of that for the most part, right? Mm-hmm. But man, he started talking about DMT and dreaming and being dreams or transducers of maybe the next evolution of the human mind. And I was like, oh my God, right up my alley.
Yeah.
Dreams had a profound effect on me because of the nightmares I had in that house we lived in.
Yeah.
And then I'd get up in the morning. Now I'm about 4 years old, so this is like 1979. I'd get up in the morning and Mom would be getting ready for work early, right? So you'd always see the bathroom light on in the hallway. And I'm like, oh, thank God Mom's up,
Yeah.
So I would wake up from being tormented. It makes you kind of mad. And again, I had an overactive imagination. Maybe it's me thinking this, but I remember the dreams and they sucked. And then here's some some facts.
Yeah.
So I'd get up and go bother her. I just wanted to be in the light, and I wanted to be with Mom or Dad, right?
Something safe.
Yeah, safe.
Yeah.
And Scotty, you gotta go back to bed because and my brother and I, for many years, we shared a room. 2 beds. Okay, Mom, but they're after me. They and they're hurting. They would poke and scratch and all kinds of things. I never had any physical. You never saw the bruising or the things, but I felt it in my. And that what they really did is they get up in your ear and start, yelling and right there.
Yeah.
Oh God, you'd wake up and it's a nightmare.
Startled.
Oh, it's horrible.
Then you take a second, figure out what's going on, where you're at.
And it's dark, And,
yeah.
Yeah. So I would, okay, Mom, I'll go back to bed. I'd just turn my bedroom light on and go back to bed. And then one time, this happened a few times, I'd hear this, you think that light's going to help you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And
that'll get you.
Leave me alone, And then Mom says, Scotty, go back to bed. She'd hear me saying, leave me alone or don't,
Yeah.
Don't come get me or something like that. And she could hear me saying that stuff sometimes, that happened a couple times. You think that light's going to help you? Why'd you turn that light on? Just sinister as hell. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then, so those were things that I heard in my head. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, when I heard that, it sounded like whatever this was right next to me. That was a physical sound, right? And there would be times where I'd be having those dreams, and my brother would wake up, and he said there were shadows all above me, next to the bed, all kinds of weird things. Yeah. So, and then he said they would go. We had a closet, Josh. We had a little closet in this bedroom where they kept the piping, like there were pipes in there and stuff for water. The bathroom was in the next room.
Yeah.
And maybe heat. Couldn't actually tell you, but I remember the piping and stuff being in this closet. And he said they would go into the closet and the door would close. They didn't go in between the doors, which, by the way, because he told me that a long time ago, and I mean a long time ago, I always closed the doors in my house.
Oh, yeah. I do the same thing. Yeah.
Because I say the ghost cannot go through it, which is probably the dumbest thing. But it's because of that.
Yeah.
Which is 1978. I've been doing that since. Yeah. Right. Close the doors. Because he said they would go into that closet. And you go in the closet and there's shelves.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a shelf? There were shelves. And we had our toys. You had your toys and whatnot. Board games, pillows, things like that in there. And those pipes were in there, which it brings me to the next point here, where I had to debunk. Years later, I had to try to debunk it. Is this just my active imagination? So, Keith, we lived in a family area there. The family owned all that land there on Tippy Lake, and Keith would go to school. I wasn't in school yet, wasn't in kindergarten yet, and I would walk up the hill with him. We just had to walk up the hill a little ways, and we'd go to our cousin's house. Okay, my cousin. Shout out to my cousin Debbie Black, Lonnie, Debbie Richardson. They were the Blacks, it's Black's Landing.
Yeah,
and I'd walk Keith up there, and that's where he'd get on the bus with the older cousins and stuff, and then I'd walk back by myself. 4 years old, Josh. I'm walking. This is it's still dark out, in the fall and whatnot. And I'll walk back to the house. It was nothing to me. I was an explorer, man.
Yeah,
I explored. I'm probably lucky to be alive for that. I was so young when I used to explore, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'd go home, and I'd get in the room. I didn't want to wake Dad up. Mom was at work. I didn't want to wake Dad up because he was the disciplinarian, and he was loud. He could be loud. His loudness would bother me. But I started playing with my toys. Had some cool toys, man. Yeah, who didn't when you're a kid, right? And I had Disney books and See Jane Run, See Dick Run, things like that. Dr. Seuss. So, I'm in there playing, and then I'd always close the door because I didn't want to wake Dad. My light's on, I'm playing, and you'd hear this on a wood door.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so what happened was my overactive imagination, I created a bunch of imaginary friends. Well, when you hear things like that and you hear them whisper, they ain't so imaginary.
Yeah.
I thought those were my friends that were coming to hang out with me. And I said, shh, be quiet. Don't wake my dad.
Yeah.
Don't wake my dad. And then you'd open the door, and what you'd see is when you open the door, Josh, there's a hallway right there. It's white, painted white, and you could see shadows just fly across the hall, Now, years later, that happened probably every morning. Yeah, happened all the time. Happened a lot. Years later, I thought, well, what if those pipes in that closet were, if it was gas or whatever, maybe hitting, but it was so distinctive that, you would hear it almost every morning when I was in there by myself. Now, see, Keith never heard it. Yeah. He was gone, and he never heard the knocking. But then you'd be in the house, Josh, and back then, so everybody lived close to each other, grandma, aunts and uncles, cousins.
Yeah.
And how you communicated was, Scotty, Keith, come home. It's time to come home. They'd yell across the landing.
Yep.
Yeah, all of them. That's just how we did it. Debbie, Debbie and I'd be playing all the time. And you'd hear her mom, Aunt Sally, it's time to come home. Yeah. So Debbie'd run up the hill or vice versa, right? My mom, Scotty, So you're in the house and you're sitting, no matter where you were, if it was me. Now, this was day. Most of the activity occurred in the morning, FYI, by the way, in the early morning. Yeah. But sometimes at night, too, man. Oh, man. I'd just be sitting there playing with toys or puzzles or maybe coloring. And you'd hear this, Scotty. And I'm like, man, what's Aunt Sally? What's Sandy yelling at us for? What's Grandma yelling at me for? Scotty, come here.
Ooh, Yeah.
Is Debbie there? Yeah, I heard that. And I'd be like, Dad, Dad, Aunt Sally's, hollering at us. Oh, there's nothing going on, Crunch. I don't hear anything. Oh, okay.
Oh.
And then on top of that, try growing up in a freaking cult church. That didn't help matters much,
Yeah.
Although they might have been able to come in and cast out the demons, but I don't know what haunted that place. It wasn't good. I know.
Was it
that
at a
much.
certain time in the morning? Like a time frame?
Yeah, I'd say right around bus time. So probably 7 o'clock, maybe 6, in between 6 and 7. Yeah. Now, and also the nightmares all happened in the morning too, by the way. So that I know of, that I recall. So it'd be so Mom would be getting ready at 5 o'clock in the morning, or so, maybe earlier. I didn't know time back then, but I knew it was early because she'd always say, "Oh, Scotty, you're up at 4 o'clock. It's 3 o'clock in the morning." I got up because I didn't want to sleep. Yeah. I can get mad. You can tell I'm trying to. I'm about ready to drop F-bombs.
Yeah.
I didn't want to sleep.
Yeah.
And then these horrible nightmares. And then I got this cult mentality church, fire and brimstone and the end of times and all this horse shit.
Yeah.
And so then, this is pretty cool. And then, of course, images I saw on TV would affect me too. So a lot of dreams are subliminal. And,
your mind,
images
pop fills in gaps and
But Star Trek would come on, I want to say Saturday mornings on some channel, because back then you only had 3 or 4 channels, right? And one of them was a Christian network, Channel 46, right, out of South Bend.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that, always interesting stuff on that. But Star Trek would come on early in the morning. I'd get up. I was 4 years old, 3 and 4 years old at this time. I'd be making myself cereal so I could watch Star Trek.
Yeah.
Anyway, and In Search Of was on at that time in the evenings. And man, did I love watching. And so I realized that Leonard Nimoy was in both In Search Of and he was Spock.
Yeah.
Mr. Spock on Star Trek. And I loved Star Trek. And I was a kid. I didn't really know what was going on, but I liked the colors. I loved space even back then. I did.
Yeah.
And spaceships because I knew a lot about Star Wars. Now, not so much Star Trek. I knew a lot about Star Wars because I had the toys.
Yeah.
But Star Trek had spaceships and they had laser beams, and I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Leonard Nimoy became my archetypal guide in my dreams. So if it was getting rough and I saw Leonard Nimoy was in my dreams, which it did happen, I could go to him and I was safe.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good
that
guy.
Cool?
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I never did get to meet him, but I sure did like him. And I always supported, watched his stuff, always.
Yeah.
In Search Of was the greatest show there ever was, I think. It was awesome. He was awesome in that. But yeah, that was kind of weird, It's funny how it progresses. In your mind, you go to places in your mind that help you deal with it. It's just like emotional pain, And and I still have dreams about that place. It's never good. Even when I lucid dream, I have a hard time battling it out. I'm in there, if I'm there, and I can do a lucid dream, which does, because of all this, Josh, by the way, I started studying dreams when I was 5 years old.
Oh, wow.
5 years old, started reading about dreams.
Yeah.
And I took on as much information as I could to
combat what was,
And if you could watch some of my dreams, you'd be like, man, that is really cool. The things I was telling you about, the one the other day where I was using telekinesis.
Yeah.
And the old Baron's like, yes, but Rocker, can you do this? And he sends it flying. I'm like, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
Thanks for showing me,
Yeah.
So I've had a couple of dreams with Dean in there that were awesome.
Yeah.
Like he's almost like an archetypal guide now after that second dream where he says, oh, Rocker, that's interesting. And I was showing him I could pull things to me, and he goes, but can you do this? And he threw it. He threw the object, like using the force,
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I can now. Now that you showed me.
You showed me the
master,
way.
right?
Thank you. Yeah.
So I haven't told Dean about that.
Oh, he'll love that one. Yeah, he'll really enjoy that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a bit of my paranormal experience, and more on the scary, very scary side.
Yeah.
When you're a kid.
Yeah. Mine's more of the, what's going on?
Yep. Let's see where we're at here, Josh. Oh man, I was 40 minutes.
Hey.
I was on a roll there. Probably bored everybody to sleep.
Nope. No. I think it's fascinating.
Let's talk about this stuff all month since it's October.
Hey, it's the right season to do it.
You know what's cool too? American Horror Story. That first season. I only watched the first 2 seasons because then bands got real busy, you know.
Yeah.
But remember on Halloween, anything went. Mm-hmm. The ghost could come back. The dead could come back for one night, right? On that first season there. And Mom, you know, when I lived in that house, she dressed me up as a skeleton ghost. Real cool costume. She was very good at that stuff. And she knew how much I liked it, right?
Yeah.
It just trick-or-treating around Black's Landing. But back then, everybody was there. They were like, Lakers didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't come and go, you know. So everybody was there in the fall, right? Mm-hmm. So a big neighborhood. And my, how times have changed. And when I put that costume on, I felt powerful.
Yeah.
And I know there were mornings where, you know, I couldn't be bothered. I wasn't scared. No. I found a way, and I'm like, how do I do this every time so I don't have these nightmares or these things don't scare me? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Halloween helped with that.
Yeah.
You know, my mom always wanting to dress, you know, put me in a cool costume and let me trick or treat. That helped.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's other things that help too greatly. Like when I first started kindergarten, we'll get into that next time. But if anybody's struggling out there with something like that, let us know. You know.
No.
Maybe your kids are going through something like that, or your house is haunted. Let us know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's always it's I don't know. As I've gotten older, it's better to just kind of talk it out. Yeah. Because, you know, you hold it in. And I know, I mean, we're of times where anytime people would talk about any of this stuff, and there are people like, oh, come on.
Yeah, sure.
Like, no. Like, as people have been able to express more and more stories online and stuff, everybody's kind of like, you know what? I have had a similar experience.
Yeah, something. Mm-hmm. That's good. That's a good thing. You got to talk these things out. It's good therapy.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, shall we sign off here, Bubba?
Yeah, we can. We're gonna have a good month.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun because I got plenty more for you.
Yeah.
And I also have a redeeming arc with this stuff too.
Nice.
You know, yeah.
Hey,
redeeming arc.
That's the way you do it.
Yeah, and you're gonna get kick out of how that came about. Let me find. There we go. We got a. Oh, how shall we send it off? Should we do scary? No, we ain't gonna send it. We gotta send it off with. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Hey, thanks, everybody.
And this is the Mac and Rocker podcast. Like and subscribe on YouTube, please.
Yeah.
And we'll see you on the next one.
Have a good one.
There we go. You know, the last, as we were doing this, trying to stop the recording.